Hello, everybody. Today is Monday, September 15. You've joined the Kubeflow Model Registry bi-weekly meeting. This is the meeting that happens every bi-weekly for the Model Registry Working Group. We have, as usual, our some agenda items. And for everybody, if they wanted to add any items to the agenda, they are free to do so, not only during the meeting, but also throughout today's bi-weekly time. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. If you have, sort of like this meeting is being recorded, and these meetings adhere to the CNCF code of conduct. We did not have a bi-weekly call over the past 2 weeks before, for some Labor Day. So this is that meeting next, and I'm following up with some agenda items that we had there. Now, with regards to the notes, I will go through the agenda items. And if you have anything that you would like to add, please feel free to raise your hand or sort of like speak out if you have any items that you would like to speak. Now, before we actually get started, is there anybody who is new to this bi-weekly call and want to introduce themselves? Hey, Max.
Hey, folks. My name is Max, and I work on the Red Hat, one of the AI teams on Red Hat, and I'm just looking to help out with the model registry, and I'm hoping to help out and take a look at the some of the UI for the model registry. So, yep. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining, Max, and thank you indeed for sort of like showing up here. Your help for this integration of the UI with the manifest will be much appreciated. We can use some bandwidth from also contributors over there. Much appreciated. Is there anybody else that never introduced themselves and wants to introduce themselves now? I think that, yeah, I don't think there is any new faces at least today. Cool. Thank you, Max. So without further ado, one important follow-up item from the past recording was the Kubeflow graduation talk, the Kubeflow graduation task. Now, the Kubeflow graduation have reached the point where the community have raised to the TOC, the CNCF TOC, the call for graduation. This is an important milestone. So if you follow the graduation hyperlink, you will see that Model Registry is a component for the proposed CNCF graduation. This is a great progress, and I would like just to send kudos to everybody who contributed both for the project itself and also in the graduation part. I think it's like take your chance as well to have a little celebration about this one. This is really show the effort that we did in this community working group as part of the Kubeflow graduation. I really wanted to thank those who have needed to exercise a little bit extra patience with me with all sort of the last minute request and sort of like unforeseen task that we did. I think that you will find the announcement as well if you want to follow through and sort of like socialize the news that was raised last week. That is the thing. So this is a good milestone. It's not yet the sort of like the finish line. So this is, but it's a very important milestone that I think it's important to account. So indeed, to reach the finish line, what else do we need? We need to keep the eyes on the FOSSA, and this will continue even after graduation. So we did the implementation for the integration with the FOSSA. FOSSA is our license scanning. So nothing that is required from contributor directly beyond the usual sort of like check compatible licenses that are open source licenses. FOSSA now will run as also as part of the PR checks. And typically it's now stable enough that the PR checks is also sort of like coming from FOSSA in time. If you see that for your PRs, some FOSSA checks is sort of like hanging for more than a day, then is likely a timeout issue. So in that case, we should really sort of like let me or Alessio know, and we will follow up with sort of like unclogging that request. So that's why I'm mentioning to you as contributors. There is some ongoing work. So we needed to add some OpenSSF scorecards. That is in addition to the OpenSSF best practice badge that we already did. So there is ongoing work that is in action. We have also received last Friday some medium and informational security audit reports for the code. So this morning, thanks as well to Alessio, we have a quick turnaround time on those ones, and we already acted. And then finally, there will be some more longer term SBOM steps that we could integrate. So for this one, you will see some PRs in the repo. So you're free to take a look and contribute as you may see fitting. And also if you have additional ideas, please let us, the others as well know. It was quite a lot, so I just pause for a brief couple of seconds just to check if anybody has any question, curiosity, ideas, comment.
So is that we already considered CNCF graduated?
Oh, this is the request for graduation. So this is not the finish line. This is a milestone. So the CNCF TOC request is a formal request to ask for the graduation. So it means that now the TOC will go and check that all the documents, all the due diligence is in order. And with that one, the response will be given. Sort of like what we worked for today is sort of like all the due diligence and to have all the checks in place to indeed raise the request for graduation.
Okay. I know that they only meet a couple times a year mature from the CNCF graduation perspective. Do we know when that is scheduled?
The Kubeflow graduation call that happens every bi-weekly. In Tuesday, they are speaking that they...
No, I meant the CNCF board itself.
Yeah, I'm saying in the Kubeflow graduation call that happens every bi-weekly, they're keeping an update on the progress because it's true, it's like it happens only so often in a year, but they specifically asked the TOC to have an eye for it in time for the KubeCon NA. So they asked, now, will it happen in time? We don't know. There are a lot of uncertainty. There could be.
So 2 months out, so it's not too far out.
It's not too far out, and also sort of like indeed this is sort of like what we needed to provide. Maybe they will have some feedback to say, oh, you have to do this in addition to, or this one is not good enough, or this one needs to be done differently. But sort of like at least to raise the request, these were the steps that we followed along with other CNCF ambassadors.
Right.
That's why let me just repeat it, rephrase it one more time. This is not the finish line. This is an important milestone because what needed to happen is to be part of the 6 components that are part of the TOC request. So as you can navigate here, you can see that we are in model registry for as well with pipeline, Khatib trainer, notebooks, and Spark operator.
So we are at a good state, looks like, from model registry side. Is there any deliverable there? Any additional deliverables they're asking us between now and now?
There are all these kind of like new requests that from time to time they pop up. For example, last Friday we received a couple of these security reports as I was mentioning. And sort of like this morning with Alessio, we had a quick turnaround time on those ones. An additional one is that they're asking us to onboard on OpenSSF scorecards. That is in addition to the badge that we worked on for the past, I would say, 3 months. So those are the kind of requests that sometimes emerges. So like it's a bit difficult to forecast ahead of time if there is anything done. But also is like this is So like not a one-time activity as well. For example, every time that a PRs get merged, I receive and others receive sometimes a security report if there are some vulnerability that are detected by the tools or license that for some reasons were detected later. So in this case, we need to act on those ones. So typically I'm dispatching them.
Yeah. So let me maybe I'll parse what I'm thinking. Uh, you know, as a community, let's figure out where we want to go, right? So what I was thinking is, when we get to the CNCF graduation status, I do hope and I do think that there is gonna be a little bit um, more eyes on the project, so to speak, based on the graduation status, right? So to capture that, should we as the project where we want to be, right? Do we want to be, working towards say a 1.0 GA? I know we are in forgot whether we are in alpha or beta right now, but should we be, even soon after, if not, at the same time, right? That's probably is a lot to ask on folks working in the community right now, but at least to have a proposal or a roadmap defined, because when the people do come in, it would be great if we can capture that interest, in my opinion. Um, so maybe a 1.0. I know we have, yeah, 1.11 roadmap. We did mature before. Um, Maybe going towards that or calling that one a GA, or just throwing out some suggestions there, right? What we want to do as a community.
Yeah, it's a valid point. I think that as well. So like one thing that we shouldn't confuse is like the API support level with the maturity of the project. So this is definitely a conversation that we can have. Just for a friendly reminder, Kubeflow 1.11 release was put on hold, the work towards the release specifically because the graduation was deemed more important from a community point of view.
Right.
I would say at this moment it's best to indeed keep hammering towards the graduation, because sort of like this will be the focus for the next 2 months, I would say, from the community. We can see what the graduation call will eventually steer now that the graduation request has been raised. And then indeed is like that is something that I believe lands both in this call, but as well for the overall Kubeflow steering committee involvement. So I don't think it's something that we can simply sort of like discuss in this meeting, but this is something that sort of like for the synthesized items, for the main items, we should raise it to the community call where we know that the steering committee will be there, or for an ad hoc meeting as well with the steering committee. That's, I think, is the most advisable path as well. So what translates for contributors or anybody watching for the recording is that if you see something in the milestones that sort of like resonates with you, then indeed you can follow on those one or create a new one. And this goes towards what Ramesh was saying. Then indeed it's like for each high level items, we can go and check as well with the integration point with the steering committee. Make sense? All right. Moving on very quickly to the next items. So there is, as mentioned, just sort of like a notice. I think that we already discussed plenty about this one in Slack and related. The latest release was designated as 030 for the reason that we departed fully away, again, many thanks to SEO, with the MLMD. So that was also a removal from code path about old code. So that with that one and other also as well, important feature that I know that Dheeraj John and Sini have worked on for the experiment tracking integration. I think that was quite big step forward enough that warranted making the 03X sort of like a branch train. So with that one done, as well, we have a follow-up for everybody that might be interested to have a small, I would say, contribution that are looking for kind of like, I wouldn't say good first issue, but I think to get involved in the community is that if the community sees that some LLM models are a good example of what they would like to see in a model catalog. This is an issue that we raised in some previous meetings about tracking some potential sort of like default models. I know that here we have Aniket that sort of like was interested in looking into it. We will follow up as well in some due time. But indeed, it's like if there is, if anybody in the community would like to say, hey, I think that model such and such could be a great addition for the default catalog. I think this could be a great chance to contribute. And it doesn't necessarily mean like a code contribution. It could be just a list of models because you are experienced with LLM from a data scientist point of view or some AI engineering point of view. So in that case, feel free. I know that the UI team is not represented today, but they said that they are working on the model catalog UI and UX enhancement to the registry UI, and they will have some update to come soon, for as well with some backend for front-end enhancement for the model catalog UI. So indeed, if you see the pull requests that are being worked on at the moment on the repo, these indeed reflect as well the status for the UI. All right, so we have, so these were the items. I know that Ramesh, you've added a few ones. Do you want to speak to them, take over?
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. So I think I can probably talk through the first two in a single, or we can parse it apart a little bit. Maybe we'll leave it as two separate items. So experiment tracking feature is something that we contributed to recently in the Kubeflow community, and I know the team that was behind wanting to adapt into Kubeflow pipelines that went cold. So, but I think if we want to still keep supporting this one, we probably need to open up some channels with the KFP team and see how we can work with them and see what their plans are going towards it. There is so I'm gonna jump a little bit into the second one to get a little bit of a context because it could be somewhat related. There is a GSOC project right now that's being run with the Shive Lamba and Ricardo Martinelli being the mentors. They are working in the Kubeflow pipelines to replace, to provide not MySQL, but not also to a Postgres database. So I wasn't sure whether they are working to give the capabilities to the MLMD underneath to provide not only MySQL or Postgres, but an additional layer. Looks like they have different levels. One of the Shive was slacking me a couple days ago, and I think they have a dual use cases, whether they use whether they go directly to the database as well as the through MLMD. So I was asking them that we have, from model registry perspective, we have removed the MLMD dependency and what their thinking is in that area, so that if at all they are going to pick up this experiment tracking in general or not. So I don't know if anybody is interested to or have any associations with the folks in the KFP team. Maybe we should go to their team community meeting and at least ask what their interest levels are and how they want to go towards two different things, right? One is, whether they still want to use the MLMD, or they are going to put towards work in there, or they are trying to get rid of that, right? That's one. The second is, if they are going to do the KFP, the experiment tracking that we developed as a feature in model registry. So those, I think we need to cross pollinate there a little bit and see if that is a item. That's one. Then there is a bigger question. I think Dheeraj has submitted a PR recently to bring in ML flow as an integration point. So that could be yet another one we could I think if at all we are doing experiment tracking, that would be another point we can talk to them about, where they stand on. So I just want to raise them as the some collaboration opportunities for us to go to that team. Yes, Dheeraj.
Yeah, so we have a couple of choices. The MLflow plugin that we have built for model registry stands on its own. So there are no dependencies on like KFP for that. So we could, still do that, support it in the community. It's a development tool anyway, so we don't have to productize it or anything on the Red Hat side of it. But yeah, given that this is community call, right? We are just talking about community concerns here. So we could still support it, based on community level of support, just as an integration for MLflow notebooks to be able to use model registries to store experimentation data. And that doesn't have any direct dependency on Kubeflow pipelines. And then, like you said, we can try to engage with the pipelines community and see where they're at or what their plans are.
So if that's the case, I should we start yet another sub project or something for that, right? Not necessarily as a part of model registry, but
it's a separate Python library module. So
I understand it's another Python library, but without a proper a use case that somebody is in my mind, my use case was the KFP community is going to come in and use that, right?
No, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It
doesn't
have to be.
No, it doesn't.
There is no dependency then. Yeah, you could just write a plain Jupyter notebook, use MLflow, and store your data in model registry.
I'm gonna give Matt your opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that we have a lot of items, so like we put on the plate. So let me try to rewrap it. For what regards Google Summer of Code Project 11, and that is about the PostgreSQL support for DSP, KFP, sorry. So that is entirely its own Google Summer of Code project. So I wouldn't sort of like scope creep that project in any shape or form. We indeed take the decision to depart away from Google MLMD. It's already done. So in that case, what we can do is that we can show them that it's possible indeed, as if that project was to say, hey, it's like we would like to have the metadata support that we did for MLMD, but on top of Go series, then they can potentially take the model registry deployment as an example, because indeed we have both the sort of like the metadata sort of like a schema of MLMD as a backbone for the whatever database we choose, MySQL or Postgres, and then sort of like they could do as well. Then on top of that, we have our own logical model edge. So that is with regards to the Google Summer of Code Project 11. For what regards the experiment tracking, there is still the cap open. So I think that the right place to follow, I'm going to add the link later, but indeed that will be the right place to follow the KFP. For what regards instead the MLflow plugin integration, so that PR that is open currently in the model registry repo, I'd say at a minimum, we should raise the point to the ML experience working group for Kubeflow, because that was not existing before. And now there is a charter open for it. And being that this is like an SDK kind of thing, I think that is worth it, at the very least, to make them aware that this PR exists. Because I'm not sure if what they sort of like want is for this to be in the model registry repo, or this sort of like should be better handled in the Kubeflow SDK. Now, I'm not saying that we hold on that decision from their side, but I'd say at the very least, raising that to the ML experience working group is, I think, important to do. So before we get to that experiment tracking MLflow plugin, at least have that one. I think that PR has the problem that we had for the experimental run, meaning that is a very big PR that is AI assisted, nothing bad with it. The problem is that these PRs so big, it's very difficult. We have already seen it, and I think that we had a social contract to say, let's not do that again. So my preference would be to say, if that PR can be decomposed, it will be ideal, especially if the MLflow plugin has different components to it. If that is possible, I think it will be preferable for everybody based on the past experience. If it's really not possible, we could still say, okay, that falls under the umbrella of the experiment and run. So sort of like, because I saw that the PR was released, so it went from 50,000 line of code to 10,000 line of code, which is great, sort of like a diminishing, but still a bit difficult to handle. So I'd say, if it's possible to compose better, or otherwise we treat it as part of that one and we go forward. But then sort of like, I think that sort of like massive PRs, it's really painful from a maintenance point of view to act on it. So indeed, we should better slice this kind of efforts. Does it give a comprehensive overview, this feedback?
I think I agree with definitely agree with the ML flow side of it, the ML experience team. On the experiment tracking, I've seen that KEP is closed right now, Major. So that's why I was a little concerned how, where this is going, right? So, and maybe we should probably reach out to them in the community and see if there were alternative thinking going on there.
Okay, I didn't search for it, so thank you for the heads up.
Let's see. I mean, I think we can solve that ourselves anyway. We have to solve. But there are these two different PRs and work we have done from our community that depends on them. I mean, we were doing it in the hopes that they would integrate, but we need to establish that path. So, all right. But I agree with what you said. So let's see if you can do anything there. So the last one. So I'm going to move on to the last one. Is what you just said towards the end there, Matthew, is what is the social contract for the, these AI assisted codes or large code bases, right? When we are trying to merge, is there something we can codify and put it on the website or put it into? I mean, is there something already I don't know about in contributing some guidelines or something we can? If not, can we start capturing some of our experiences and how we want to account for those kind of scenarios?
That is a great item, and I think that is something that we need to handle with the steering committee as well. So
Okay.
I can tell you a couple of sort of like general points that I see typically raised when we speak about it. There is one dimension that is totally about AI-assisted coding. So we have already a CNCF ticket where we've asked, okay, what's the CNCF stance about AI-assisted, at least code reviews? Because that is also part of the game. Because it's like, people are indeed free to contribute whatever they want because they take the responsibility about the code that they publish. So to me, it's like as a maintainer, if a contributor is proposing the code and doing already the sign off, they're already taking the responsibility for saying, yes, this code is compatible with the license. So I have no sort of like my obligation from a maintenance point of view is totally fine because indeed I can say this PR claims with the sign off and therefore I'm good with it. So it's a problem of whoever raised the PR. The other thing that I think is missing is that indeed is like we should have some code review assistance because indeed it will help not only big PRs, but also small PRs. So for that one, we have already a ticket open. I think that is a bit slow in getting a progress because the CNCF still needs to, as many foundation, I think that is still needed to, iron out indeed some overall blanket guidelines. But indeed, we have already the ticket open. I will add it to the thing. So that is for anything that is related to AI-assisted coding. Now there is indeed every time that I've raised, and we can see there is also a general thing that I would say is orthogonal. Is sort of like it's valid regardless that the code is AI-assisted or not. If somebody comes and make a PR a PR that is 10,000 line of code, in general, sort of like before we even had dreamed about the AI tools that we have, that is not considered a good practice because it's painful. It's painful to review. It's painful to maintenance and so on. So that I think is something that we can consider orthogonal to it. I agree with you. It's like we could say, we could raise the question to the community. If we want to revise this stance, this sort of like a software engineering best practices now that we have this AI-assisted tooling. But I think that when we raise that point, the next question will be, what becomes the role of a maintainer? Because if then sort of like, if 10,000, if even 100,000, let's imagine, okay, we get even 100,000 line of code PR, and the AI-assisted coding in the PR review is telling me this is good to go. There is still a human, at least for the foreseeable time being, approving. And that to me at present is like you, myself, and Alessio. And it's like that a human in the loop is in place because when something goes wrong, then it's a human that decides what to do. What becomes the role of a maintainer is sort of like we delegate one potentially to the bot.
Right. I mean, so that we don't.
That is a very interesting problem, but you see how it's very sort of like the very next question, because sort of like I'm already looking at that question to be answered, because the moment that we raise to say, do we want to revise the stance about some previous best practice? What are we going to do? How do we redefine the role of a maintainer? And this is a role that, in my opinion, is something that we need the steering committee to decide on, because that is typically what is defined for the contributor guideline.
As these are increasing, right, and we already seeing the second time in our small code base, I at least I think we need to let's sync with the steering committee and see maybe some guidelines we need to establish, right, so that we can follow it. I mean, obviously there can be exceptions if we have something, but what those are, and we'll figure it out. I mean,
I don't want I think that to have a comprehensive assessment, let me just also sort of like, and this I share it my personal opinion. Frankly, I see that some PRs raised by John are exactly what I would expect to happen. It's like there is a PR, it's very sort of like well perimetered, it makes a change, it explains how the AI-assisted tooling has been helpful for it, and sort of like it's quite reasonable to review. I'm just getting more of them. Okay, it means that I'm getting more of them. I would like to be
what I'm trying to tell you is we need to somehow convert those into guidelines, right?
Oh,
That's the help of steering committee, so that a contributor comes, they know exactly what are these rules. That's all I'm asking. So
it's a good point. We can raise it. I think it will take time because at the moment, I think that they wanted to prioritize the graduation, sort of like not redefine a little bit the foundational guidelines for the Kubeflow. That's my suspicion. So we may need to sort of like deal with it for some times until the graduation sort of like a finish line is reached before we get to have a conversation about that. That doesn't mean to say that we cannot start the conversation now, but I can see why.
Maybe we can capture it in an issue somewhere, or
yeah,
if it is already there, then at least maybe capture that. All right, great. Thank you for the conversation. Appreciate it.
Any additional items, or anybody has any feedback on any of these items or previous items? I see also, Josh, you joined us. Happy to have you. Do you have any comments or anything you would like to share?
Just listening today, but it's very interesting.
I was just mentioning in one of the previous items, let's say, I wanted to share the good news with this working group that the Kubeflow community as a whole has raised the graduation request. So it's not yet the finish line, but it's an important milestone. So I see that the people here contributing to Model Registry should be happy that we are indeed, along with the other 5 components, as part of the graduation call. So really looking forward to the progress on that one, and that hopefully we should everybody keep the finger crossed that the EOC can make the time before the KubeCon, and also for the Andre, Francisco, and everybody in the steering committee that have been pushing double hard as well on this item. Okay, round call to check if anybody has any last minute items that they would like to add. Going once. Going twice. All right, thank you everybody for your participation. Friendly reminder, every Tuesday there is bi-weekly alternance between the community call and the graduation call. So if anybody is interested in these topics, please also, that is a great venue to join. And with that, also thank you everybody for your participation, and speak to you on the repo. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.